New dialogues with peculiar sound effects and a nice inventory improvement. These will be the main topics for this episode, while I'll also showcase a shortened list of fixes and improvements which are not exciting enough to have a section of their own, but were introduced recently. Hello there, it's KyPDuk from KyPDuk Studio here. Today I'll continue with updates on what was improved in the game recently. I'll concentrate more on visuals as code stuff is quite boring to go through and it's not a code review at the end of the day. And I would like to start with dialogues. I introduced dialogues quite a while back as they are one of the pillars of the game. Given the fact that the game is quite heavy in lore, story-driven, and quite a lot of information can be sourced from dialogues. But even though the game is supposed to unveil more about the lore through dialogues, it wasn't really the case, as initially I added only those which contribute towards quests and little could be learned in terms of the world. And that's exactly the area which I decided to address. I wanted dialogues to uncover the world piece by piece, so the whole picture of the world can be built in time. Some dialogues are supposed to show the social aspect of society on a particular level or the whole platform. Some are supposed to unveil how the world works and why it works the way it does. Obviously, some are added just for fun or for the player to get some useful information, so expect way more conversations in the demo. And yes, if you're not that fond of reading, a quick dopamine addict, and have the attention span of a fish, well, this game might not be for you, lil bro. The next improvement is related to dialogues, though it comes in the form of sound effects. So, before the improvement, whenever you trigger a dialogue, there wouldn't be any audio response, just a box with dialogue and a portrait box, which is kind of fine, though every time I would trigger it, I personally would feel that something was missing. So I decided to fix this by assigning a sound effect per dialogue. And believe it or not, all the feedback sounds were recorded in-house, like this. Of course, I was playing around with pitch, otherwise everything would be made of the same two voices and would be boring as fuck. In the end, I got all the dialogues covered, which in my opinion is definitely not functional, but a nice addition to have. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also subscribe to the channel in case you want to follow the development process. Hitting the bell button won't hurt either. Alright, we're coming to another change which was added into the personal assistant device, which acts as the inventory, journal and map in the game. Though this change is related only to the journal and inventory sections. You see, previously this was the UI for inventory. You could select an item, which would output item information in the top part of the screen. And this information was limited to the item title and description. Pretty much the same situation was happening on the journal screen when you select a quest entry from the list. Back in the day, I was working on the shop UI for Zona 4. And yes, the shop UI will be different from zona to zona, though the functionality will be the same. While working on it, I thought that it would be nice to have a big item image. So whenever the item gets selected, the bigger and more detailed image of the item is shown in the UI alongside the title and description. Since that time, I wanted to introduce the same approach into the inventory, though I never came across it up until recently. So when I finally decided to introduce it into the inventory, all of the things were already done, as I had to create big item images back when I was introducing them into the shop. But to be honest, I didn't think about introducing it into the journal. It was actually a coincidence, as the quest information and item information were both updating the same elements. And while I could just split it and let it be, I thought that having some visual representation for quests might be a nice and low-cost addition to the journal in terms of development. But again, I'll be very pleased if you can share your thoughts on this as well. And as I promised, here's the list of the most interesting things out of the less exciting stuff. Some of them are bug fixes, some of them are improvements. The terminal registering space as input during dialogue was removed. Pressing J, I or M won't trigger the personal assistant during a cutscene. Key control of the in-game menu. By the way, that's the path towards controller support, but that's a tricky one, so you won't get it into the demo yet. Hit and escape will quit the shop. Who would have thought? Sound effects were fine-tuned for animated doors. The folder structures in terminals now have a common base standard. The final demo and screen text was sped up, and the screen itself was improved with some buttons. The ones I think are quite important are adding character step sound effects, updating shop sound effects, and adding sound effects during some events. And yes, I like sound effects. That's it for this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you want to track the development process and visit the Steam or itch.io pages if you wish. I also have other socials, everything will be in the description below. Have a very nice day, night, or whichever time of the day it is for you now, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.